Hello everyone, this is Doris from Susan's family. Today, I'm bringing you Herbal Chronicle series, the square patchwork blanket, the Yingchun design. For this pattern, view it on en.sussudiy.com. The blanket requires you to crochet these motifs first. Then sew all the motifs together. Finally, crochet the border along the outer edge. To make the explanation easier, we divide the motifs into Motif 1, Motif 2, and Motif 3. Let's start with Motif 1. We use the magic ring method. Work in rounds counterclockwise from the starting point. Several crochet stitches will be used, and they are all marked on the chart. I won't list them one by one. Now, let me demonstrate the specific crocheting method. Before we start crocheting, let's learn the proper posture for crocheting. To make it clearer for you, I'll demonstrate using cotton yarn. The colors are random. For specific yarn, color schemes, and hook sizes, please refer to the detail page of our product and the paper instructions. First, begin with a magic ring. Pick up the yarn with your right hand and wrap it twice around your left index finger. There are now 3 loops on the index finger. Use your right thumb and index finger to pinch where the loops overlap. Take it out. Then wrap the yarn around your left little finger. Thread it between the middle finger and index finger. And transfer the loop to between your left thumb and middle finger. Pick up the crochet hook with your right hand. The hook moves between these 2 points. Insert the hook into the loop. Place the hook to the left of the yarn. Wrap the yarn. Draw the yarn through. There is now 1 loop on the hook. Continue by crocheting 1 chain to secure. Wrap the yarn. Draw the yarn through. 1 chain is completed. Pull tight. Make sure the loop on the hook is not too tight. Otherwise, it will be difficult to crochet later. Like this, the adjustable magic ring is complete. Begin the first round. Make 1 beginning chain. The turning chain does not count as a stitch. Work SCS into the magic ring. Insert into the magic ring. Wrap the yarn. Draw the yarn through. There are now 2 loops on the hook. Wrap the yarn again. Pull through both loops on the hook. 1 SC is completed. There is a V-shaped braid on the upper right. This is the stitch of the SC. Continue to crochet SCS. Insert into the magic ring. Wrap the yarn. Draw the yarn through. Wrap the yarn again. Draw through the 2 loops on the hook. The second SC is completed. You need to crochet 8 SCS in this round. Continue to crochet the remaining SCS. 3. 4. 'After that, close the magic ring. There are 2 loops. First, gently pull the yarn tail from the beginning. You can see 1 loop moving. Tighten the moving loop. One loop remains. Pull the yarn tail tight. This closes the loop. Next, slip stitch into the first SC of this round to finish. Find the first stitch. Count from the stitch on the right of the hook. there are 8 V-shaped braids. That is the first stitch. Insert. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. Pull through all the loops on the hook. Slip stitch completed. This is the braid formed by the slip stitch. The joining slip stitch does not count as a stitch. It needs to be tightened to avoid having extra stitches later. Like this, round 1 is completed. Move on to round 2. Chain 2 as beginning chains. These 2 chains count as an incomplete DC. Then, work a DC in the first stitch from the previous round. Work a DC. Yarn over. Insert. Place the starting tail above the hook. Weave in the ends as you go along. Then yarn over. Draw the yarn through. Now there are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over. Draw through the first 2 loops. 2 loops remain. Yarn over again, and draw through in once. 1 DC is completed. Together with the 2 chains on the right, they form a DC2 bobble. Because there are turning chains at the beginning, the technique here is a bit special. Work 3 chains. Then make a DC2 bobble in the adjacent stitch. Start with 2 incomplete DCs. Yarn over. Insert into the adjacent stitch. Be mindful to weave in the ends. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. There are 3 loops on the hook now. Yarn over. Pull through the first 2 loops. This is an incomplete DC. Move on to the second one. Yarn over the hook. Insert into the same stitch. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over again. Pull through the first 2 loops. This is the second incomplete DC. Yarn over. Draw through all loops on the hook. 1 DC2 bobble is completed. Work 3 chains. Complete and make a DC2 bobble in the next stitch on the left. Start with 2 incomplete DCs. One. 2. Yarn over. Draw through all loops on the hook. Another bobble stitch is completed. +1 at the starting position. Now there are 3. In this round, you will work a DC2 bobble into each stitch from the previous round. Between the DC3 bobbles, chain 3 as a transition. Everyone finish the remaining part of this round. After completing the last 3 chains, join with a slip stitch in the first DC3 bobble, which is the third braid here. Insert the hook. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through, and draw through all the loops on the hook. Slip stitch completed. Pull tight. Like this, the second round is completed. Now let's work on round 3. Make 1 beginning chain. Then, in the same position as the previous round, slip stitch. Crochet 1 SC. Next, in the left chain space, crochet 1 HDC. Yarn over. Insert the hook. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. There are now 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through all the loops on the hook. 1 HDC is complete. Move on to 1 DC. Yarn over. Insert into the same chain space. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over again. Pull through the first 2 loops. Repeat twice. Once. Twice. 1 DC is done. Move on to 1 chain. Then work 1 DC in the same chain space. Work 1 HDC. Yarn over. Insert. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over again. Draw through all 3 loops on the hook. Another HDC is complete. Then in the DC 3 bobble stitch on the left side, work 1 SC. Then in the left chain space, work the same stitches in the chain space on the right side. Start with 1 HDC and 1 DC. Then work 1 chain. Follow with 1 DC and 1 HDC. When done, work 1 SC in the DC 3 bobble on the left side. This round involves working the same stitch in each chain space. Work the same stitch here in each chain space. Work 1 SC in each bobble stitch. Everyone finish the remaining part of this round. When completed, join with a slip stitch to the first SC. Pull tight. This way, round 3 is finished. Next, work on round 4. Make 3 chains to start. These 3 chains count as 1 DC. Chain 3 for transition. Then work 2 DCS in the same stitch. Work 2 chains between the DCS. Next, work 1 SC in the left chain space. Work 2 chains. Then work 1 HDC in the left SC. Work 2 chains. Next, work 1 SC in the left chain space. Then work 4 DCS in the left SC. Work 2 chains between the first 2 DCS. Work 3 chains between the middle 2 DCS for transition. Work 2 chains between the last 2 DCS for transition. Take these 4 DCS and the 7 chains in the middle as pattern A. This round involves working HDCS and pattern A. In the SCS from the previous round, you need to work corresponding chains and SCS on both sides of the HDCS. Refer to the diagram. Complete the remaining part of this round. After completing the last SC, work 1 DC and 2 chains in the first stitch of the previous round. This completes the first pattern A. Finally, join with a slip stitch to the third chain of the turning chain. That is, the fourth chain to the right of this stitch. Insert the hook under these two strands. Pull tight. This way, round 4 is completed. Move on to round 5. Here, you need to adjust the starting position. Transition using a slip stitch. Insert the hook into the left chain space. Make 1 slip stitch. Be mindful, the slip stitch here is represented by an oval solid dot, which means you don't need to tighten. The circular solid dot indicates that you need to tighten. This will not be repeated later. Now the yarn tail is carried to the corresponding position. Work 2 beginning chains. These 2 chains count as an incomplete DC. Work 2 more incomplete DCS in this chain space. Then yarn over. Pull through all the loops on the hook. 1 DC3 bobble is complete. Because there are beginning chains at the start, the technique here is a bit special. Work 4 chains as a transition. Then work 1 DC3 bobble in the same chain space. First, work 3 incomplete DCS. Then yarn over, pull through all the loops on the hook. Another DC3 bobble is complete. Work 2 chains. Then in the left chain space, work 1 DC3 bobble. Work 2 more chains. Then work 1 DC3 bobble in the next chain space. Work 2 more chains. This round involves working DC3 bobbles in the chain spaces from the previous round. In the chain spaces with 3 chains, work 2 DC3 bobbles. Work 4 chains between the DC3 bobbles. For the remaining chain spaces with 2 chains, work 1 DC3 bobble in each. Work 2 chains between the DC3 bobbles. Refer to the chart for guidance. Complete the remaining part of this round. After completing the last 2 chains, join with a slip stitch to the first DC3 bobble stitch. Pull tight. As you can see, this is what it looks like after finishing the 5th round. Continue with the 6th round. First, adjust the starting position. Insert the hook into the adjacent chain space. Work 1 slip stitch. This adjusts the yarn tail to the corresponding position. Make 3 chains to start. These 3 chains count as 1 DC, then work 2 more DCs in the same space. Including the beginning chain, this is equivalent to 3 DCs. Take these 3 DCs in the same position as 1 leaf, then work 3 chains. Follow by working another leaf in the same position. Then chain 1. Then work 1 DC in the left chain space. One chain. Then in the left chain space. Work a sequence of 1 leaf and 1 DC. Work 1 chain between the leaf and the DC as a transition. Continue crocheting until you reach the corner chain space. When you reach the corner position, work 2 leaves. Work 3 chains between the leaves. This round is working 2 leaves into each of the 4 corner spaces from the previous round. Work 3 chains between the leaves. For the remaining 2 chain spaces, work a sequence of 1 DC and 1 leaf. Between the DC and the leaf, work 1 chain as a transition. Refer to the diagram to complete the remaining part of this round. After completing the last chain, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. Like this, round 6 is completed. Work 1 chain to secure. Leave about 5 centimeters of yarn tail before breaking the yarn. Then weave the tail following the texture to the wrong side of the fabric. Weave in a few more stitches and trim. Like this, motif 1 is completed. Use the same method. Complete the remaining motifs 1. Next, let's look at motif 2. Similarly, start with a magic ring. Work in rounds counterclockwise outward from the magic ring. There will be color changes during the process. The new stitch techniques used are SC2 in 1 and cross group. Please watch my demonstration. First, begin with a magic ring and crochet 6 SCS for round 1. Here, I have already prepared it in advance. Next, crochet round 2. Make 1 beginning chain. Then, in the first stitch of the previous round, make a SC2 in 1. That is, crochet 2 SCS in the same stitch. Remember to weave in the ends. One. 2. A SC2 in 1 is completed. Continue working by crocheting 2 SCS into each stitch of the previous round to finish this round. When completed, join with a slip stitch to the first stitch. Pull tight. This way, round 2 is done. Chain 1 to secure. Leave about 5 centimeters and cut the yarn. Weave the yarn tail to the wrong side of the fabric. Make sure to weave in a few more stitches before trimming. Next, crochet round 3. For this round, work into the front loops of round 2. Each stitch has 2 strands. The strand closer to you is the front loop. The strand farther from you is the back loop. Pick up the corresponding color of yarn. Make a slip knot with the yarn tail. Hold the yarn with your left hand. Pick up any front loop of round 2. Draw the yarn through the loop. Slightly adjust the loop size. Then crochet 7 chains. Next, pick up the strand on the left side of the second to last chain. Crochet 1 slip stitch. This slip stitch doesn't need to be pulled tight. Then, pick up the strand on the left side of the adjacent chain. Crochet 1 SC. 2 HDCS. One SC. And 1 slip stitch. After completing this, in the adjacent front loop of the joining position, crochet 1 slip stitch. Take this strip as 1 petal. This round requires a total of 12 petals. Move on to the second one. First, crochet 7 chains. Then, starting from the second to last chain from the hook, pick up the thread on the left side. Work the corresponding stitch. After completing this, make 1 slip stitch in the front loop of the adjacent stitch. The second petal is done. Everyone follow this method. To complete the remaining petals, the final slip stitch is crocheted at the starting joining position. Pull tight. Then cut the yarn. As you can see, this is what it looks like after completing round 3. Next, let's work on round 4. For this round, pick up the back loop of the stitches from round 2. First, insert into the back loop of the first stitch from round 2. And join the yarn here. Make 3 chains to start. These 3 chains count as 1 DC. Then chain 2 for transition. Followed by picking the back loop of the adjacent stitch. Work 1 DC. Make sure to weave in the ends. Then chain 2 for transition. Followed by picking the back loop of the adjacent stitch. Work 1 DC. Chain 2 again. For this round, continue to pick the back loop of the stitches from round 2 and work DCS. Chain 2 between the DCS for transition. Work this round completely. After completing the last 2 chains, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. Like this, round 4 is completed. Next, crochet round 5. First, adjust the starting position. Then make 1 beginning chain. Work 1 SC in the same chain space. Then chain 5. Work 1 SC in the left chain space. Chain 5. This round involves working 1 SC in each chain space from the previous round, and chaining 5 between the SCS. Finish this round. When completed, join with a slip stitch to the first SC. Pull tight. Like this, round 5 is now complete. Next, work on round 6. First, adjust the starting position. Then work a DC3 bobble. When working the third incomplete DC, you need to connect to the corresponding petal from round 3. Pick up the 2 threads behind the SC above the petal. Insert. Then insert into the chain space. Work an incomplete DC. Then work 4 chains. Then in the same chain space, work another DC3 bobble. When working the first incomplete DC, connect with the previous petal. Insert into the same connection point. Then work 2 chains. Then work a bobble stitch in the left chain space. When working the second incomplete DC, connect to the adjacent petal from the third round. First pick up the 2 threads behind the SC above the petal. Then insert into the chain space. This round involves working DC3 bobbles in the chain spaces from the previous round. Work chains between the DC3 bobbles. For the specific quantity of DC3 bobbles and chains, refer to the chart. When working a single DC3 bobble in a chain space, to connect to the petal when working the second incomplete DC. When working 2 DC3 bobbles in a chain space, the third incomplete DC of the first DC3 bobble, as well as the first DC of the second DC3 bobble. Connect both to the same petal. To finish this round, after completing, join with a slip stitch to the first DC3 bobble. Pull tight. Then cut the yarn. This way, round 6 is completed. Move on to round 7. Take the corresponding color yarn. Start at the left of the position where the yarn was cut in the previous round. Make 2 beginning chains. These 2 chains count as 1 HDC. Then work another HDC in the same space. Remember to weave in the ends. Then chain 3. Work 2 more HDCs in the same space. Then work at SC in the left DC3 bobble. Followed by 3 SCs in the left chain space. Then work at SC on the left stitch. The next stitch is a cross group. Work 1 DC in the left DC3 bobble. which is in this chain space. Slightly enlarge the loop for the height of the DC, so that the height matches the SC on the right. Next, work at SC in the chain space between these two DC3 bobbles. Then, work a DC in the chain space on the right side of this DC insertion point. Make sure the completed DC should be behind. Do not wrap it. Slightly increase the height of the DC. Complete the cross group. The height should match the SCS in this round. Make sure the fabric does not roll. Work at SC in each of the two DC3 bobbles on the left. And work 3 SCS in the middle chain space. Take the starting point from the beginning chain to the last SC up to this point as one group. This round requires repeating this stitch group 4 times. Continue working down. I will demonstrate the method for the cross group again. First, work a DC in the left chain space of round 5. Pay attention to the height of the DC. Then work at SC in this chain space. After that, in the chain space to the right of the entry position of this DC, work a DC. Make sure that this completed DC should be placed behind. Do not wrap it. The cross group is completed. Everyone continue to crochet the remaining part of this round. After completing the last SC, join with a slip stitch to the second chain of the beginning chain. Pull tight. Then cut the yarn. Look at this. This is what it looks like after completing round 7. Now let's crochet round 8. Join the yarn in the left chain space of where you cut the yarn. Then work 2 leaves in this chain space. Work 3 chains between the leaves. Remember to weave in the ends. complete with a chain. Then skip 2 stitches. Work a DC in the 3rd stitch on the left. Work another chain. Then skip 2 stitches. Work 1 leaf in the 3rd stitch on the left. That means working 3 DCs in this stitch. This round is a sequence of DCs and leaves. Work 1 chain between the DCs and the leaf, and skip 2 stitches. At the 4 corners, work 2 leaves in each. Work 3 chains between the leaves. Refer to the diagram to complete the remaining part of this round. After completing, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. Cut the yarn. Weave all the yarn tails on the wrong side of the fabric. This way, round 8 is completed. One motif 2 is finished. Use the same method. Complete the remaining motif 2s. Now let's look at motif 3. It includes the flower and the main part. The flower starts with a magic ring. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise. Crochet 1 flower first. Then, while crocheting the remaining 3 flowers, connect them to the previous flowers as you go. After completing all 4 flowers, crochet 1 flower center. Connect the centers of the 4 flowers. The new stitch techniques used are 2 in 1. Please watch my demonstration. First, complete the first 2 rounds of the flower. I have already prepared this in advance. Start with the adjustable magic ring. In round 1, crochet 6 SCS in the magic ring. In round 2, crochet 1 SC in each stitch from the first round. Fasten off after completing. Look at the texture. There are horizontal lines behind the stitches. This side is the wrong side of the fabric. Since there are no increases here, the fabric will curl. Turn the fabric over. When crocheting later, the right side should always face you. Now let's crochet round 3. Join the yarn in any stitch from the previous round. Then crochet 4 chains. Next, work a TR2 in 1 in the same stitch. That means 2 TRS in the same position. Wrap the yarn twice around the hook. Insert the hook. Yarn over, draw the yarn through. Now there are 4 loops on the hook. Then yarn over again. Draw through the first 2 loops. Repeat 3 times. Once. Twice. 3 times. A TR is complete. Move on to the second one. Wrap the yarn twice around the hook. Insert into the same stitch. Then yarn over again. Draw through the first 2 loops. Repeat 3 times. The second TR is complete. This completes a TR2 in 1. Now chain 4. Then make 1 slip stitch in the adjacent stitch. Take these stitches as one petal. There are 6 petals in this round. I will demonstrate the petal stitch again. First, chain 4. Then, in the same insertion position of the slip stitch, work a TR2 in 1. Then chain 4. Make 1 slip stitch in the adjacent stitch. The second petal is complete. Continue to crochet the remaining part of this round. The last slip stitch, crochet at the join point. Then pull tight, cut the yarn. Weave the yarn tail on the wrong side. Like this, the first flower is complete. Move on to the second flower. First, crochet the first 2 rounds, and the first 5 petals of round 3. Then crochet the 6th petal. Start with 4 chains and 1 TR. Then let go of the loops on the hook. Take out the previous flower. Insert the hook into the second stitch of any TR2 in one of the petal. Then insert into the loop that was left. Pull through. Then complete the remaining TRs and chains. Finally, join with a slip stitch. Tighten. Cut the yarn. And weave the yarn tail on the wrong side. Like this, 2 flowers are completed. Now, let's connect the third one. Similarly, first complete the first 5 petals. Then crochet the 6th petal. Start with 4 chains and 1 TR. Then release the loop on the hook. Take out the previous 2 flowers. Connect to any one of the flowers. The connection position here needs to be 1 petal apart from the previous connection. Insert into the second TR stitch. Pull the loop through. Then complete it. Cut the yarn. The third flower is connected. Continue to connect the 4th flower. This flower needs to connect with the first and the last flowers to form a circle. First, complete the first 3 petals. Then crochet 4 chains and 1 TR for the 4th petal. Take out the previous flower. First, connect to the rightmost flower. Connect at the same position as the previous connection, skipping 1 petal. Then complete this petal and the 5th petal. When crocheting the 6th petal, connect to another flower at the other end. Pay attention to the connection position. It should also be skipping 1 petal. Complete it. Cut the yarn. In the middle, there are exactly 4 petals. This way, the 4 flowers are connected. Next, crochet the center of the flower. Connect the 4 petals in the middle. First, begin with a magic ring. Make 1 beginning chain. Then let go of the loop on the hook. On any one of the petals. In the middle of these 4 flowers, insert into the second TR stitch. Draw the loop through. Then crochet 1 SC in the magic ring. This connects 1 petal. Next, let go of the loop. Insert into the second TR stitch of the adjacent petal. Draw the loop through. Crochet 1 SC in the magic ring. The second one is done. Complete the remaining 2 petals using the same method. After that, close the magic ring. Then join with a slip stitch to the first SC. To insert from the bottom of the petal. Pull tight. Then break the yarn. Weave both yarn tails on the wrong side. Like this, the flower is completed. Now, crochet the main part of the motif. Pick up from the back side of the flower to crochet the first round. Then crochet in rounds counterclockwise. During the process, you need to connect to 4 flowers. The new stitches used are TR, HDC3 puff, DC5 in 1. Please watch my demonstration on any petal connected to the flower center. Pick up the 2 loops behind the second TR stitch. Which is the 2 loops closer to the top? Draw the loop through. Then chain 5. Next, pick up the 2 loops behind the second TR on the adjacent petal. Make 1 slip stitch. Then chain 5 again. Continue all the way down to complete this round. All slip stitches are picked from the 2 loops behind the second TR. When crocheting, keep the motif in front. Once completed, join with a slip stitch at the starting point. Pull tight. This way, the first round is completed. Next, crochet the second round. First, carry the yarn tail to the left chain space. Make 3 chains to start. Then crochet 5 DCS in the same chain space. Once completed, in the remaining chain spaces, crochet 6 DCS each. Complete the remaining part of this round. Once completed, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. This way, round 2 is completed. Now, crochet round 3. Make 3 chains to start. Then skip the first stitch. In the second stitch on the left, work 2 DCS. Chain 2 between the DCS as a transition. Take these two DCS and the two chains in the middle as one group. Not counting the starting position, you need to crochet 11 groups in this round. Skip one stitch between each group. Everyone, complete the 11 groups first. Once completed, work 1 DC in the turning chain from the previous round. Then chain 2. Join with a slip stitch to the turning chain. Tighten. Round 3 is complete. Next, crochet round 4. First, carry the yarn tail to the chain space behind the hook. Make the loops on the hook slightly loose. Then insert into the chain space. Work 1 slip stitch. The yarn tail is now carried to the corresponding position. When crocheting this round, you need to connect the flower. Start with 4 chains. These 4 chains count as 1 TR. Next, work 1 TR in this chain space. Then work 1 DC in the left beginning chain. This round involves working TRS and DCS in the stitches and chain spaces. And connect the petals at the marked DC positions on the chart. First, refer to the chart and crochet to the stitch before the marked position. Reach the marked position, then work the marked DC. First, insert into the stitch where the petal is connected on the right side. Then insert into this stitch in round 3. Work 1 DC. This way, it connects to the petal. The rest are connected using the same method. When working the marked DC, insert into the stitch where the petal is connected on the right side, and the corresponding DC in round 3. The second connection point DC is completed. Everyone finish the remaining part of this round. After completing the last 3 chains, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. This way, round 4 is completed. Now let's work on round 5. Similarly, you need to carry the yarn tail to the chain space behind the hook. In this round, the marked positions in the chart also need to connect the flowers. First, let go of the loop on the hook. Connect the corresponding petal. Insert into the back loop of the stitch on the left. Then insert into the loop that was left. Draw the loop through. Make 3 chains to start. Then 2 chains as a transition. Continue in this chain space. Work 1 DC. Then skip 2 stitches. In the 3rd stitch on the left side, work a group 1. The crocheting method is the same as in round 3. When working the 2nd DC, connect the flower. First, work an incomplete DC. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over again. Draw through the first 2 loops. Then let go of the first loop. Be mindful to prevent the loop from slipping off. Then insert into the corresponding petal. In the back loop of the 2 stitches. Insert on the left side first. Then on the right side. Finally, insert into the loop that was left. Draw the loop through the 2 loops of the petal. Then yarn over, and draw through once. This completes the connection. Next, work 2 group 1. Remember to skip 2 stitches between groups. After completing, connect to the adjacent petal. When working the next stitch, start with an incomplete DC. Then let go of the first loop. Be mindful to prevent the loop from slipping off. Insert into the back loops of 2 stitches of the petal. First, insert into the back loop on the left side, then insert into the right side. Next, insert into the loop that was left. Draw the loop through the first 2 loops. Then yarn over and complete. Connection is completed. Next, in the left chain space, work 1 DC and 2 chains. Then work 1 DC in the same chain space. When working this stitch, connect to the petal, yarn over. Go through both 2 strands of the petal and the chain space. Work 3 chains. Then work 1 DC in the same chain space. Here, you also need to connect to the same petal. Then work 2 chains and 1 DC. Continue working down. When crocheting in the corner chain space, there has 2 DCs connecting to the same petal. The connection method is slightly different from the previous one. Refer to the earlier demonstration. Follow the diagram. Complete the remaining part of this round. The last DC connects to the same petal as the turning chain. After completing, join with a slip stitch to the turning chain. Pull tight. This way, round 5 is completed. Next, crochet round 6. Here, I'll use a sample to demonstrate. Adjust the starting position first. Make 2 beginning chains. Then, in this space, crochet 2 incomplete HDCS. Yarn over. Insert. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. This is 1 incomplete HDC. Next, crochet the second one. Yarn over. Insert. Yarn over. Draw the yarn through. Yarn over again. Draw through all the loops on the hook. This is a HDC3 puff. Since there are beginning chains, the technique here is a bit special. Work 2 chains next. Then, in the left chain space, work a HDC3 puff. Start with 3 incomplete HDCS. 1, 2, 3. Then yarn over, and pull through all the loops on the hook. The HDC3 puff is completed. Work 2 chains again. In this round, in the chain spaces from the previous round, work HDC3 puffs. Work 2 chain between the HDC3 puffs. In the 4 corner chain spaces, work 2 HDC3 puffs. 4 chains between the HDC3 puffs. Follow the diagram to complete the remaining part of this round. When done, join with a slip stitch. Pull tight. This way, round 6 is completed. Now, let's work on round 7. First, adjust the starting position. Make 3 beginning chains. Then work 2 DCS in this chain space. When done, work 1 DC in the left chain stitch. Be mindful that this stitch is worked into the chain stitch. Then work 2 DCS in the chain space. Work 1 DC in the left chain stitch. Then work 2 DCS in the chain space. Continue in this manner. And complete all the DCS along this edge. In the 4 chain spaces at the corners, work 1 DC in the chain stitch on the left side of the HDC3 puff. Then work 3 DCS in the chain space. Next, work 3 chains and 3 DCS. Continue and finish the remaining part of this round. After completing the last 3 chains, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. Then cut the yarn. And weave in the ends on the wrong side of the fabric. This way, round 7 is completed. Next, work on round 8. Join the yarn in the chain space on the right side of the beginning chain from the previous round. Then work 1 leaf in this chain space. Next, skip 2 stitches. In the third stitch from the left, work 1 SC. Then skip 2 stitches. In the third stitch from the left, make a DC 5 in 1. That is, work 5 DCs into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Next, skip 2 stitches. Work 1 SC in the third stitch from the left. For the 4 sides of this round, alternate 1 SC with DC 5 in 1. To skip 2 stitches. On the left side of the last SC of each side, only skip 1 stitch. In the chain spaces at the 4 corners, work 2 leaves in each. Chain 3 between the leaves. Refer to the diagram. Complete the remaining part of this round. When finished, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. Then cut the yarn. This way, round 8 is completed. Now, let's move on to round 9. Attach yarn in the chain space to the right of where you cut the yarn. Make 1 beginning chain. Then work 1 SC in the same position. Follow with 4 chains. Next, work 1 cross group. First, insert the hook into the gap on the left side of the adjacent SC. Work 1 DC. Then make 1 chain. Next, in the gap on the right side of the SC, work 1 DC. Wrap the completed DC together. Complete the cross group. Be mindful that this cross group is different from the one in Motif 2. You need to wrap the previous DC. Follow with 4 chains. Then work the next cross group. First, work 1 DC in the gap on the left side of the adjacent SC. Then make 1 chain. Next, work 1 DC in the gap on the right side of the SC. Another cross group is completed. This round is work a cross group around the SC. Work 4 chains between the cross group. Work 2 SCS in each corner position. Work 3 chains between the SCS. Refer to the pattern. Complete the remaining part of this round. When done, join with a slip stitch to the first SC. Pull tight. Then cut the yarn. This way, round 9 is completed. Next, work on round 10. Join the yarn in the chain space to the right of the break. Then crochet 1 leaf. Next, in round 8. Work 1 SC in the middle stitch of that leaf. Be mindful to wrap the chain from the 9th round. Then, in the chain space of the cross group on the left, work 5 DCS. Next, work 1 SC in the middle stitch of those 5 DCS on round 8. You also need to wrap the chain from round 9. For the 4 sides of this round, you will work 5 DCS and 1 SC. The 5 DCS are worked in the chain spaces of the cross group from round 9. The SCS are worked in the middle stitches of the DC from round 8. And you need to wrap the chains from round 9. Work 2 leaves into each of the 4 corners. 3 chains between the leaves. Complete the remaining part of this round. When finished, join with a slip stitch into the beginning chain. Pull tight. Cut the yarn. This way, round 10 is completed. Next, I'll use this sample to explain the stitch pattern for the rounds 11-12. The method for the 11th round is the same as the 9th round. For the 4 corner positions of round 12, work 2 leaves in each, 3 chains between the leaves. Work the DCS in the middle stitch of round 10. At the same time, wrap around the chains from round 11. Work the leaves in the chain spaces of the cross groups from round 11. Between the DCS and the leaves, work 1 chain as a transition. Refer to the diagram to complete these next 2 rounds. Weave all yarn tails on the wrong side of the fabric. Like this, the crochet method for motif 3 is now explained. Complete the corresponding number of motif 3s. After all motifs are crocheted, refer to the diagram to sew them together. You can watch my demonstration first, then start sewing them together. First, arrange the motifs according to the diagram. I will demonstrate sewing together the 4 small flowers in the top right corner. Start by sewing vertically. Pick up these 2 small flowers. Cut a long piece of corresponding color yarn. Thread the needle. Tie a knot with one end of the yarn. Insert the needle from any corner position. In the middle of the 3 chains. Pick the back loop and insert the needle. Then pick the same corner position on the other motif. In the middle chain. Exiting through the back loop. The wrong sides of the 2 motifs should be facing each other. Next, insert the needle into the middle of the knot. Then pick the same position on this motif and sew again. Next, insert into the back loop of the adjacent braid. At the same time, pull through the adjacent back loop on this motif. Weave the yarn tail in as you sew. Align the 2 motifs. Continue inserting into the half loops from front to back. Repeat this process to continue sewing. Make sure not to pull too tight or too loose. Keep the motifs flat. Sew all the way to the corner at the other end of this edge. Through the middle chain of the 3 chains. You can sew an extra time at the last stitch position. This way, the two motifs on top are now sewn. Then take the corresponding two motifs. At the middle stitch of the corner, insert into the half loop. Then draw through from the half loop of the corresponding stitch on the other motif. Here, you can also sew one more time. Then sew the entire edge. You can sew the beginning and ending stitches of each motif one more time. Once done, weave the yarn tail to the wrong side. Weave in the yarn tail on the wrong side. Next, take the yarn and connect the middle edge. Use the same method, and continue sewing until you reach the connection point of the four motifs. At the middle position, insert into the middle stitch of the 3 chains and sew again. Pay attention to the entry position. Continue sewing the entire edge. Once done, weave the yarn tail to the wrong side. Tie off and weave in the ends. This way, the 4 small flowers are sewn together. Next, take out motif 3 on the left side. Continue taking the yarn and sew. Use the same method. And sew all the way to the connection point of the 3 motifs. When sewing, if you encounter a starting chain, sew at the same entry position, where the slip stitch is made. At the middle connection point, pick up the half stitch and sew it to the adjacent stitch. Then, pick up the middle back loop of this motif and sew it to the same position as before. Continue sewing one stitch to another. That is, the middle stitch of these 2 small flowers should be sewn to the same stitch on the large motif. Continue sewing until you finish this edge. If the stitch count doesn't match later, you can skip a stitch and continue sewing. After finishing this edge, you could not break the yarn. Then, continue following the diagram, and take the adjacent motif to sew it together. The situations involved have already been explained earlier. You can also arrange the motifs according to your preference. This way, the sewing of the motifs is now complete. Next, crochet the border. Crochet in rounds counterclockwise around the outer edge of the sewn motifs. Please watch my demonstration. Start with round 1. Join the yarn in any corner chain space. Then work a leaf in the chain space. Crochet 1 chain. Then work 1 DC in the middle stitch of the left leaf. Crochet 1 chain. Then skip 1 stitch and 1 chain. In the position of the left DC. Work a leaf. Continue to follow the chart. Crochet until you reach the connection point between two motifs. When you reach the position, work 1 leaf at this connection point. Work into these 2 threads. This round consists of a leaf and a DC in sequence. 1 chain between the leaf and the DC. Work a leaf into these 2 threads of the connection points between 2 motifs. For the 4 corners, work 2 leaves in the chain spaces. 3 chains between the leaves. Refer to the chart and complete the remaining part of this round. When completed, join with a slip stitch to the beginning chain. Pull tight. Cut the yarn. Weave the yarn tail on the wrong side of the fabric. This way, the first round of the edging is completed. For the remaining rounds of the edging, the stitch pattern is almost the same as the last few rounds of motif 3. When crocheting cross group, the second DC needs to wrap around the first DC. For the row above the cross group, the SCS need to wrap around the chains of the cross group. The number of rounds and color scheme in the chart are for reference. When crocheting, you can freely combine and adjust the number of rounds based on your preference. This way, the edging explanation is completed. Up to this point, the making method of this blanket has been fully explained. If you have any questions during the process, don't hesitate to reach us via our website. Susan's Family, supporting your handwork experience, sharing the joy of life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.